welcome to Dialed In. I'm Alex Cologne, this is Sasha Segan, and normally what we do is we talk about the top news, we talk about some rumors, and then we show you one of the things that we're reviewing. But we're going to do away with those first parts of the show because today we have the iPhone 10, and realistically, if we started talking about the news, you would just want to know about the iPhone.
It's 10 day, yeah.
So this entire show is going to be dedicated to the iPhone 10. If you have questions about the things that we're talking about, if you just want to know something about the iPhone in general, it could even be non-iPhone related questions. You can let us know, drop in a comment, we'll read them out and answer them for you. So let's get right to it. Now, Sasha, you've had the phone for what, about 24 hours now?
Still a little less than 24 hours. We got it late yesterday afternoon.
You're really just feeling it out. What I want to know is, and I literally have spent just a few minutes with the phone before the show started.
I won't let go of it.
Yeah, yes. Sasha does not let go of the phones until he's done reviewing them.
Well, sometimes they go walking. You know, you don't want that to happen.
What I want to know is, when you first started using it, what feature did you find most striking?
I mean, the screen to body ratio is really what jumped out at me. I looked at it and I was like, oh, Apple has finally arrived in 2017. Oh, this is what the iPhone 8 should look like. And it really just struck me that this hideous bezel situation on the previous iPhones should have been like rusticated a year ago. And look at this beautiful sleekness with the narrow bezels and the screen coming to the edges, just like we see on the most modern Android phones. This is the experience that iOS users deserve.
Now, I think you might be being slightly hyperbolic here. When did we first start seeing Android phones change over?
Earlier this year.
Yeah, earlier this year.
Yes.
And Apple only releases phones once a year.
Yeah. So I think the issue is more just that Apple made a big deal about the iPhone 8.
Right.
And the iPhone 8 has, I just want to take some kind of saw and just go like, just chop these things off. And then you get this.
And I will say, after like the 5 minutes that I spent using this phone just before the show, you do see, like, you move back to the iPhone 8, and it does just seem like wasted space.
Yeah.
Bezels.
Although, so as I've been through the process of reviewing it today, my thoughts have been developing. I've been talking to people online about it, and it's interesting because there were some people out there who were explaining to me why they still like the iPhone 8 Plus more, and that lets me get into some of the details about this screen.
Okay.
So Apple says that this is a 5.8-inch screen. And it is 5.8 inches, but at a very tall, narrow aspect ratio of 19.5 to 1, which is taller and narrower than any other mainstream smartphone I can think of. 19.5 to 9. The LG is 18 to 9. Samsung is 18.5 to 9. This is 19.5 to 9. These older ones are 16 to 9. And so you find that this 5.8-inch display still, in terms of square inches of area, is actually slightly smaller square inch-wise than this one.
Right.
And the key is that the iPhone 8 Plus display is wider. And where this all comes down to is that some guys with big hands like the wider keyboard. And the keyboard on here will be slightly narrower than on the 8 Plus keyboard. But since I like the smaller iPhone 8 size, getting so much more screen area than the iPhone 8 in a phone that's only barely larger, I was just crazy about that.
Oh yeah, I agree. I mean, if you've been using an iPhone 8, iPhone 7, iPhone 6, any of the smaller models, holding this doesn't feel that different.
Yeah, no, it's slightly larger, but it doesn't feel overwhelmingly larger. It doesn't feel painfully larger, and you're just getting so much more screen area.
And let's talk about the screen itself. So this is the first time that Apple's using an OLED panel. Yes. Let's talk about what's different there.
And so OLED is a different screen technology than LCD. Instead of the whole panel being backlit, individual elements on the screen turn on and off. And that means when something is black on OLED, it's truly black. It's just off.
Right.
And so you get blacker blacks. And typically on OLEDs, you get more saturated colors. Though, as we saw with the Google Pixel 2 XL, OLEDs can also be tuned to have very dull colors. And Apple really tuned their OLED here to look as much like their LCDs as possible. and the colors are very similar. You can see a little bit more saturation. I feel like if I say compare these blues in the weather app, but it's not a huge difference. And but it really is a beautiful screen. Now it's not quite as bright as the Galaxy S8 screen,
Right.
and definitely not as bright as the Galaxy Note 8 screen. But is it bright enough? Can I use it outside? Absolutely.
Yeah, I will say one of the things that I noticed is that it is definitely, I mean, we have it tuned up to full brightness right now, and it's not as bright as some other phone screens.
No, it's not the brightest screen around.
Which, I mean, when you have it bumped up like that, it looks less impressive. But in my day-to-day, I don't keep my phone at maximum brightness. You know, I usually just have it.
I feel like if you live like, I don't know, if you live where it's sunny all the time. Actually, if you live where it's sunny all the time, you're going to have a couple of problems with this phone. Should we take some questions?
Oh yeah.
Can you highlight how the camera tab affects some common apps such as Facebook or Instagram?
Yeah. Okay. So I don't have Facebook and Instagram loaded, but I have some other apps loaded, and I can show you how the notch, and especially now, here's what surprised me. Okay, the notch turns out to be less disruptive than this little bar down here, which tells you, since there's no home button, you have to flick up to get home. Okay, so if I go into, now Twitter and Facebook have both been optimized for the notch. I'm sorry, you can't see this.
I'm watching on our screen over there.
For the notch and the menu bar. So you see in Twitter, and this is the same about Facebook, they put status information up here, they put the UI down here. But if you go into an app that hasn't been optimized, such as Smart News, you see you've got your status information up here, but down here, they were assuming that no one could see what's down here on the UI, which is true on older iPhones, but it's not true here, so it's messy. Or let me see, what else doesn't look too good? Let's see, I wasn't, I hadn't looked at the CNN app before, so you'll see it the first time I see it. Let's not enable things right now, let's agree. Okay, and so now what we see with the CNN app is very common in non-optimized apps, which is that the whole app is just letterboxed. And so you basically have a reduced 16:9 screen with status information at the top and the menu thing at the bottom. Now in YouTube, and we'll take another question in a sec, but I want to show you what happens here in YouTube. In YouTube, if I watch a video, let's go for, is there an iPhone 10 ad we can look at? iPhone 10 from Apple, yeah, there we go. Okay, so if I'm watching a video, I'm gonna turn it into landscape mode to show you this. I can tap, I can pinch, and it'll zoom to fill the screen with the content actually kind of going over the notch. And then I can shrink it to the actual 16:9 size of the content.
Right.
So you see different apps dealing with it in different ways. But I think that whatever app developers can't handle this, they'll fix it within a few months.
Well, yeah, because right now we're seeing that most of the apps that you've downloaded, and just sort of randomly, are not optimized yet for this screen ratio.
I mean, I think back to when the iPad launched, and there weren't any iPad apps yet.
Right.
And so a lot of apps were iPhone apps being run in 2x.
Yep.
And now nobody runs iPhone apps in 2x on an iPad.
Yeah.
Exactly. It adapted.
Okay, another question?
Will Face ID replace Touch ID things like bank account passwords?
Yes. So Face ID, which is the face scanning application, which is really dumb to show you because I just look at the phone and it opens, I
mean, I still kind of want to see it.
Okay. Is it still on? Yeah, I didn't turn it off, right? Okay. So here's how Face ID works. There's a little infrared projector here, and it has to be seeing your face. So if I lay it down like this, it's not opening, even if I'm staring at it.
Right.
If I put it really close up to my face, it's not opening because I'm too close and all it sees is my nose. If I put it about yay far, it opens up, and there you go.
And so all you did was press the The power button on the side?
Yeah, I press the button on the side, look at it, the little lock unlocks, and then you have to swipe up. It doesn't go immediately to the home screen, which is something that's kind of frustrating, and I hope they change in iOS 11.2.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Another question?
How do old apps that weren't updated yet to the iPhone X screen look like?
I just showed you that 2 minutes ago.
But basically, yeah, they're letterbox. There's like a little blank space at the top and the bottom.
Yeah, but we just did that. So yeah, Face ID is replacing Touch ID in everything that had Touch ID. So that includes payments, that includes banking. I've already been using it with buying apps on the App Store. It works pretty well. And you've seen there's a lot of other people out there who have been doing kind of gimmicky things trying to foil Face ID. I think what the consensus has come down to is that you actually do need a living identical twin to be able to do so.
And has it worked for you every single time that you've tried it?
Maybe 19 out of 20 times. And I do find it does not work every single time. If it doesn't work, then it asks you to enter your passcode. Yeah.
And how long will it take of not working before it does that?
If it doesn't work 5 times in a row, or you end up fiddling with the buttons too much, it asks you to enter your passcode. For instance, if you go into this screen here, let's see if I can go there. Oh, no. You go into this screen here, which is the slide to power off screen, because you are thinking of maybe turning off your phone, and then you cancel it, Face ID won't work. You have to enter your passcode.
Got it.
Yeah. And that's actually that is actually the secret police are going to get me mode, because one of the concerns that was out there, especially from international people, is that often the police cannot compel you to enter your passcode, but if your phone unlocks just by you looking at it, they may be able to get into it. But if you pinch your phone in this particular way, that disables the face unlock.
Right. So since we're talking about the front-facing camera with the face unlock, let's also talk about the other things that the front-facing camera can do. And I'm specifically thinking of Animoji.
Yes. So Animoji, and we will get to more questions in a minute. Animoji are fun. I mean, they're kind of the latest thing added to iMessage.
Right.
And one of the great things about Animoji is that they can be sent to anyone. You can send them to people via email. You can send them to people with Android phones. They end up getting sent as little MMS videos.
Right.
Or, of course, you can send them as iMessages.
Have we checked yet what size these videos are?
They're not that big.
Okay.
They're not that big. So there are 12 little characters you can be. And it uses the dot projector to map your face and then to motion cap you into being a character. So like I'll bring my face into view right here, and I don't know if you can see, but the pig is mirroring my mouth movements. And I can, if I close my eyes, does the pig squint? Yeah.
Yep.
Or the poop. And now I can be oh, it's hard when I'm trying to get into the camera too. I'll be a really grrr poop, you know? Yeah, everyone has those every once in a while, but and then or the bunny, and so you can record 10-second videos of yourself as a bunny or a unicorn or whatever, and send them to your friends. But what it really is, it's fun and it's cute. But what it really is a demo of the APIs for the face mapping, possibly to encourage third parties to start creating applications that use the face mapping, and I'll show you one of those. Snapchat is one of them, but I famously cannot figure out how to use Snapchat. I have a Snapchat account. I have no friends, and the UI makes no sense to me. But somebody showed me this Chinese Snapchat. Like, look, we have Halloween masks, and so you can see on the screen here that this is using the face tracking camera to put a scary Halloween mask on your face, which you could then take photos or videos of. And what else could this be used for? I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what companies use this for. Yeah.
Do we have any questions?
Someone actually wants to know how Face ID works outside. They've heard that people have had issues outside versus inside.
Yes, it works better inside. It works great in the dark. It it is slightly less good if you have sunlight behind you, and that is because the sunlight can scatter the IR coming out of the camera.
So, I mean, you were just using it in front of a bright LED. It was working okay.
Yeah. But it is less accurate if you are backlit by the sun. And that may have to do also with the IR coming from the sun, not just the visible light.
Right.
Because these LEDs are relatively cool.
Do we have any other questions?
Someone owns an iPhone 6 and wanted to know if it was better to upgrade to the iPhone X or just the iPhone 8 Plus.
We have not made that determination yet. I am still reviewing this phone. I don't want to give the final word on this phone yet. You know, I'm still figuring out some stuff about it. I can tell you about this phone, but I don't want to say, you know, this is so many stars, buy it or not, until we're actually done with the review process.
What we can say, I think, is that if you're looking for a different experience, the iPhone 8 Plus, you're still largely getting a similar experience to the iPhone 6. This, you're seeing new technology.
Yeah, and I have been telling people to save their money and buy the 7s instead of the 8s this year. Just because I don't necessarily feel like the 8 generation is that much of a leap over the 7 generation. So, but you know, we do have a radically new design here.
Right.
Looks like we have some more questions.
How scratchable is the glass?
I have not tried to scratch the glass yet. We need to be done. If you want to know how the sausage is made, we have to be done with all of our photos and videos before we can do anything like that, because you don't want a video of an already scratched phone.
We also don't typically try to scratch phones that aren't necessarily scratch-proof.
Yeah, and something I would like to point out is that it's glass, and it is glass all over, and it's nice glass, and they say it's sturdy glass, but still you're going to put it in a case. One plus that comes out of putting it in a case, by the way, is that the camera bump here is a little sharp. Like, it's a little weird feeling. It's a seriously hard camera bump. And putting it in a case kind of covers over that and gives the whole thing a smooth, a sort of uniform, smooth form.
Right.
And now, camera-wise, we did do some testing last night, and it's coming out almost exactly the same as the iPhone 8 Plus, which is great. With the one plus of the optical stabilized 2x camera has less jittery 4K video. So if you're recording 4K video, if that's a thing you like to do in 2x, this will give you a smoother experience. But otherwise, the cameras seem very, very, very similar.
Let's talk about the inside of the phone a little bit. What is going on under the hood? What kind of power are we looking at?
So we have the A11 processor, and Apple has said that this is the same processor and the same modem as we're seeing in the 8 and the 8 Plus. It is the fastest we have seen on any phone ever. And the benchmarks we got on this phone are oddly slightly faster than the benchmarks we got on the 8 and the 8 Plus, but still, you know, within the margin of error. And the fastest benchmarks we've seen on any phone ever. There's a tremendous amount of power in this phone. And when I've talked to Apple about it, when I've seen Apple presentations about it, they've made it clear that a lot of this excess power is going to be devoted to things like AR, and things like that face mapping mask application actually takes a lot of processor power.
Right.
And so that's why there's so much juice in this thing.
Do we have any other questions?
Yes, how's the battery life, actually?
I have only had this phone for 20 hours. So I have no idea how the battery life is yet. That'll take a couple of days.
What did Apple tell us? Did they say it's supposed to be, was it either, I feel like it was the same as the 8?
They're saying it's 2 hours longer, but what is an hour in Apple's world, you know? It's their synthetic mixed use test. They're saying it is longer than the iPhone 8 because the OLED screen is more power efficient, and that's true about OLED screens. But we have to run the battery test, and we haven't been able to run it down and run it up again and run it down again the way we need to do the battery test.
Right. Any other questions? All right, so is there anything else so far that you've noticed with using the phone? I know you're going to spend the next day or two testing it.
Yeah, I'm trying to puzzle out some stuff about the Wi-Fi right now. I started to test the modem, because that's an interest of mine. And just like with the iPhone 8s, there are two versions of this. One is a Qualcomm modem, one is an Intel modem. The Qualcomm one is probably better. We have the Qualcomm one. And LTE-wise, it was good, but not quite as fast as the Galaxy S8, which I would expect because it doesn't have 4x4 MIMO antennas, which it needs for those absolute top speeds. Speeds were still good. But overall, like I really do want to sink in with this for another couple of days. But I have to say, it is the iPhone I've most liked in years. I was getting really tired of that interface. I didn't know how tired I was getting of that interface. And the little touches that they've made behind this big screen have really freshened it up.
Looks like we have another question.
Does it charge faster than previous iPhones?
The 8 series and the 10 all charge faster than previous iPhones. This is the same as the 8 and the 8 Plus. It does have wireless charging. The wireless charging is not fast charging unless you use Apple's special charging pad, which is coming out next year. So it's wireless slow charging. But in terms of charging, you can use the built-in the included charger, which is not very fast, or an iPad charger, which is much faster, or a MacBook charger, which is even faster than that.
Right.
And that was true about, we actually have a story that I put out using the various chargers with an 8 or an 8 Plus and said how much faster they are, and the 10 has the same levels of fast charging.
Right. Any other questions?
Yes. Does the 8 Plus have the portrait selfie mode as well?
No, okay, so portrait selfie mode is something that is exclusive to the 10. And I can show you that. That is another thing that uses the dot projector and the AR mapping of your face. So if I call up the camera, and I go into the selfie camera, there's my face, and I go into portrait mode, it is blurring out the cameraman in the background. And it's doing that by using the dot projector to create depth information and create portrait selfies. And you can use all of their, like, you know, kooky stage light options, which don't work very well in this studio because of the LED light back there and the weird way my face is angled. But it will work, and it is exclusive to the 10.
Right. Anything else?
What separates the cameras from the 10 versus the 8?
So the two things that separate the cameras on the 10 versus the 8 Plus, I mean, versus the 8 only has one camera on the back.
Right.
The 8 Plus adds the second 2x camera. The 10 puts optical image stabilization on the 2x camera, so therefore making videos taken with the 2x camera smoother. The 10 also adds the portrait selfie mode using the dot projector and the sort of AR modes of the front-facing camera. So that's the difference as you step up from the 8 to the 8 Plus to the 10. The sensors are all the same in terms of the image sensor. It's the objects around them, whether it be an stabilization unit or the dot projector that's next to it.
All right, so we could probably go on talking about this all day.
Yes.
But you do have a review to write.
I know, and I have to go test those Wi-Fi speeds.
So I'm going to let Sasha get back to testing. He is going to go back to not letting anyone else touch the phone. And we should have a complete review with a rating for you by the end of the week.
Yeah, definitely by the end of the week.
So check back for Sasha's full review, and we will have the rating. We'll be able to compare it to the other iPhones, and we'll be able to tell you which iPhone you should buy this year.
Yes, and head on to YouTube and watch the video I made of all 12 Animoji.
Yeah, they're very fun.
Yes.
And thanks again for tuning in to Dialed In, and we'll see you again next week.